Now it's time for our last speaker of today, and I'm glad to welcome Siret Schutting, Head of Marketing Cybernetica, and you will talk about cybersecurity. And that's and that's interesting for all of us, I guess. So, and here's this one, and a microphone for you, and I will arrange the slides.
So hi, my name is Siret. I'm from Cybernetica. I would actually like to take the opportunity first, before we begin, to thank all of you, and especially the organizers of this event. I'm the last speaker, so at least try to pretend you're listening. I will try to make it worthwhile. It has been truly a very inspiring event, and I had a huge slideshow. Sorry, OCD. I had a huge slideshow, actually. Look, I have pictures here of books and people. But I'm very glad to be the last speaker because the day has inspired me to express different thoughts from the slideshow. So if you don't mind, I'm not going to use it. Or maybe later for some images. I started to think about one question. What are we doing here? Not here. I understand what we're doing here. But I started to think about what are we actually talking about? We talk about ICT and we talk about really, really huge things, right? We talk about changing the world and making Africa a greater continent across. We talk about really great things, but what is it that we're actually doing? And I've been hearing a lot of cliches, sorry, but it's true. For example, people tend to say that information is power, and where we're operating is, you know, all of those new buzzwords, blockchain, IoT, I'm not going to repeat them, but you get the drift. What is it that we're actually doing? And then I start to think about, we're not actually selling information, we're not actually dealing with big data. The only thing we're trying to sell is trust. Trust is the new gold, not information, not data, not processing that, nothing. None of those, however many presentations we had today, 10, 12, 8, something like that, none of them would exist without trust. So I had a super cool use case. It is not as cool as probably a lot of them here. I have a use case I would like everybody to think about. I got a package from Hong Kong last week. Not a data package, an actual physical package and, you know, a parcel and everything. And there was a book inside, so very retro of me. And I started to think about the journey. So there was somebody in Hong Kong who had to take the book out of, I imagine, a warehouse, put it into a parcel, give it into an office where there were maybe 10 people working, who then gave it to another 10 people, and, well, you get the drift, right? So from Hong Kong, it made to my building in Estonia, which I will not quote the kilometers because I will probably be mistaken, but a lot, thousands of kilometers, hundreds, thousands of people probably who are invested in this. I mean, we're talking about industries, you know, like aviation and post service and public services and local transport and, well, everything. And why does it work? Only because I trust that somebody there is going to deliver a message to me. I trust those packages, right? So I mean, imagine how much trust we actually put into people every single day of our lives. Today, I arrived here in the morning in a metal tube filled with explosives, a plane. And I trust that person who is on the head of the plane so that I would survive, right? Literally get back to Earth. So if I ask again, what are we really doing in information security and cybersecurity and e-governance and smart cities and technology and all of that, we're actually delivering messages. And we can only do that because of trust. So I think that this, for me, is the real takeaway from today. If we go back to the roots and we remember what are we actually here for, then we will succeed with whatever we're trying to do. There is a link to this event as well in my very emotional speech. I'm going to skip this and that and that. Oh, no, not that. This is the chairman of our supervisory board. He joined the company in 1961 when it was an institute of cybernetics. So we're actually an R&D facility. We're descendants of a research facility, and he's still there. He's sitting in the office next to mine, so we do know a little bit about sustainable growth, I would say. And we do, because one of our main, so we operate in 2 domains, in cybersecurity and marine technologies. In the topic of smart cities, obviously, information security is the more relevant one today. And the mission statement here is that we code and protect. And all of those systems that we provide are core systems. They don't have flashy lights, they don't have sexy user interfaces, no apps, by the way. So they're core systems. They are the blood of, every e-governance. And this is supposed to be like an amalgamation of nature and technology, because this is one of the most important philosophies, I think, behind that. You can never go away from your roots. Everything you do must, on some level, resonate with the people that you provide the services for. So on one hand, we provide mission-critical systems for governments, but on another hand, we create a possibility for the people of Namibia in Africa, the opportunity to use public services in not only cities, but also in rural areas. And these are all core systems. We also operate in marine technologies, but this is probably not relevant for the discussion right now. So the main thing what we're doing, or what we're most renowned for, is what in Estonia is called the X-Road solution. In Finland it's called Kappa. In Namibia it's called Namix. In Azerbaijan it's called Azan, and I can just go on and on and on. So it is a very, very, very simple technology. It is a technology of delivering messages. Literally, that's all it does. And the X-Road, it's a cool thing. Today, we just looked at the very first line of code ever committed. It was in July 2001 by Arne Ansper. So he wrote his master's thesis on an idea: what if we could create a secure data exchange system for governments? Last year, it was quoted by the World Bank report. My master's thesis never got quoted by anyone. Definitely not by the World Bank. So I think it's kind of an achievement, and it's an achievement because it looks like this. This is the world-renowned system. So on one, this is the live map of e-Estonia. All of those dots here, the red nose, these are registries or organizations or schools or doctor's offices, ministries, whatever you can imagine. And the lines in between represent bilateral agreements. So these are basically servers or institutions, whatever, entities, who talk to each other. So on one hand, you can look at this like that, but if you look at it more closely, you can see how organic it is. You are all smart city people, so you know that there has been a lot of research done on how cities grow, and they remind neurons, right? Like the organic growth of cities, or how the universe looks when you look at it from afar. Or, to me, personally, it looks like the mycelium, like the fungal network, beneath the moss in a forest. It's very, very organic. And I think that this is the bonus, or like the biggest bonus of this system, is that it's organic. What we're perpetuating is organic growth. This is not a top-to-bottom solution where we go into a country and say, you must use this. We're not thinking that people could uniform everything at the same moment. We go into a country and say, here are the tools. If you want to build it, it will happen, right? So here's a non-technical overview of what it actually does. This is literally the entire system. So it's very easy. You implement security systems in front of institutions, be they population registry, police, bank, whatever you wish, doctor's office, school. And then you enable those security servers to do what? Deliver messages. You need to enable trust somehow, so we do have a core registry with all the trusted members, plus we monitor the system health, that's all. But by the use of that, we can establish a system where if a woman has a baby, when it's minus 30 degrees outside, we're all Nordic, we know how bad it can get in winter, right? So you don't have to go out to an office which maybe in Africa might be 300 I like games, which might be 300 miles away. You don't have to do that because you can just use systems like these for delivering messages in a trustworthy manner. And you can use all of those services just by implementing a good core system. The other thing is a digital identity. So I'm not going to go into a discussion about ID cards, I promise. Maybe later, downstairs. But not now. What I'm talking about is a digital identity, the concept of a unique identity. People have the wrong assumption that it has to be like this, or even like this. It can be literally anything. Besides Africa cross, one of my other favorite regions is India, which was the first presentation today. India is one of my great loves, especially because all of the potential that I see. In India, a couple of years ago, there was a project. And that project did what? It recorded the retinas, so the retinal scans of slum dwellers, right? Which is a huge problem. I mean, we can talk about smart cities and building, you know, those self-breathing blocks they have implemented in Oslo, right? These are very cool, but we're talking about cities where we could actually make a social impact for millions of people. So, if you could take digital identity, which means that you can take these retinal scans, just basically translate them into sequences of zeros and ones, like, you know, all digital messages are, then you end up with basically the same thing, just without a card. You end up with a unique digital token, and if you put that digital identity together with this, a distributed data exchange system, we could, let's say, offer the slum dwellers social services without them ever using any birth certificates or digital ID cards. We could do that. It's literally doable. So we're talking about systems that could actually change the world, even a little bit, but they could do that. So I would argue that the philosophical and the organic growth behind those systems is the more important one. So you don't have to only talk about smart cities, but also how do these core systems affect everybody around you. And as I don't know how much time I have, I can speak for hours, so you have to stop me. But as a very concrete example, I'm going to, well, yeah, okay. I'm going to show you this picture. This is the most technical picture in my slideshow. And this represents internet voting. So internet voting is what we do in Estonia. It's not a poll online. So it is internet voting, so we use it for actual elections, for parliament, local government, European Parliament, etc. since 2005. And it utilizes the UXP platform, so the distributed data exchange, so that we could know who are the actual voters, plus the digital identity. But internet voting is a clear example of a service provided to your government, by your government, to the people. And it is, let's say, a very, sometimes a very passionate topic. So I'm going to, again, not discuss whether internet voting is whatever you want to discuss, maybe later downstairs. I would like you to look at it from a totally different perspective. So who doesn't know that internet voting works in a way that when you have elections, then you also have the opportunity to vote basically via the internet, by using your digital ID card. I have a demo, I can show you that later. But this is not what I want to discuss today. What I want to discuss is, imagine when you have a very, very good internet voting system, which we have for 10 years, no problems, okay, it's verified, it's secure. So my second question is, why do you only have to have elections every 5 years, right? Or why do we say that we can only use elections to choose people? Why can't we, for example, do an experiment where you put something, you know, maybe state budget, city budget, right? Local government, smart cities. Maybe we can choose, like, where do people actually want to put their money? And while they do that, they have to be identified, right? And verified. They actually express their citizen intent. So we did do that. We did that in Maipo Valley, in Chile, for a local government. We tried it out. How does it work when you can also express your democratic intent by using a system similar to that, because they don't really have the similar PKI system. And it went very well. So now we can start to construct all kinds of odd models. I had a very interesting conversation with somebody from Greece today regarding those like polls and surveys and how we can actually engage people. In Estonia, we have a platform called Minu Raha. It means my money. And like there used to be also a website. I'm not sure if it's available anymore, but it showed you literally where your salary goes. Like let's say that your salary is 5,000 euros, so it shows you like where the tax money goes. Like 15 euros goes to schools, 20 euros goes to the army, 300 euros goes to medicine, etc. Okay, so why don't we make an experiment? Why don't we have people vote on where they want their tax money to go? It doesn't have to be legally binding, yeah, for obvious purposes. But we could actually see that. We could provide better decision-making environments for governments by not using some very fancy flashlighty methods, but just building up good core systems and engaging people back into decision-making. So here's my 2 cents. What I believe, like where the smart in the smart city comes, it doesn't always have to be very flashy, but can sometimes just go literally back to the roots. I know I have like 30 seconds left, so I'm not going to say anything else, except that I'm really glad I finally understood what we are all doing here. Thank you.
Thank you.